practice range, clubhouse, lounge, and breathtaking views less than an hour from Omaha. Visit IndianTrailsClub.com or call 402-528-3404.
Let's think about customization presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Liberty Mutual customizes your auto insurance so you only pay for what you need. So why aren't more things in life customizable? Why isn't a burger cheaper when you ask for no onions? I don't want them, so shouldn't you deduct the price of the onions, right? Otherwise, I'm paying for the onions, but I'm not receiving any onions.
Go to libertymutual.com for a customized quote and you could save.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Coverage is underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Equal housing insurer.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
It's the Father's Day sale at Ace. Hurry in and save hundreds on Dad's favorite brands like Milwaukee, DeWalt, Craftsman, Traeger, and Yeti. Plus, Ace has an extensive lineup of steel outdoor power tools, so you can be sure to find something you'll love. And save time when you buy online and pick up in store. Make this Father's Day one that Dad will always remember, with great gifts from the best brands. All at your local Ace. Offers valid on select items at participating stores through June 17th. See store for details.
For over 60 years, Iman is a name you can trust. Iman Plumbing, Heating, and Air has a simple philosophy that anchors 4 generations of service. Treat every customer like family. With summer heat just around the corner, call Iman now to make sure your home stays cool and comfortable. Whenever possible, we always recommend repair before replacement. Visit trustiman.com.
Trust the big red truck. Iman Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
You're listening to AM 590 ESPN Omaha, KXSP Omaha, KEZO HD2 Omaha. Your home for Husker sports. It's time to strap in and get ready for the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Dan and Dirk are live in the studio today, ready to hear from you at 402-573-0590.
Good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting at Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced white-knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue. Get over to Joe's Karting today. Do yourself right with a little indoor kart racing. Looking at the weather to come, being Father's Day, it's going to be what looks to be...
Happy Father's Day to all those that happen to be.
Well, it looks like it's going to be the best opportunity to do any kind of yard work, or what I'm going to be doing is taking advantage of my first detail supply waxing kit and put a nice shine on my truck before the week of weather comes, because it's going to rain this week, pretty much all week long. We got a big show lined up for you today. I'm Dan Taylor. That's Dirk Houston. Today in turn number 1, we will recap the race at Michigan that happened about 6 days ago, because it was supposed to happen on Sunday, but unfortunately weather intervened and it happened on Monday evening. Doug Smith, track champion from Buena Vista Raceway, will join us in turn number 2. We're going to talk about news and notes in turn number 3, and then get you set for the action to come in turn number 4, and also announce who the team is that we'll be working with for the Crewman for a Day contest. Also, a lot going on today because of the weather yesterday in central Iowa. The Iowa Speedway is supposed to have the Gander Outdoors Truck Series yesterday, but it was postponed to today. You were over there doing a little bit of footwork and a little bit of research and talking with some of the teams and drivers, and you got out just before the storm hit.
Well, yeah, I got out. Well, one blast came through. It was roughly 1 o'clock. It rained for about 45 minutes. It rained hard for about 15, and I mean, some of these people from the East Coast were just amazed at how hard it was raining. And, around here, the farmers say it looked like a cow doing you-know-what on a flat rock. So, that's what we tried to explain to them what that meant. Of course, David Starr's used to it from Texas, and that's who I was hanging out with for most of the day yesterday. But, we saw this one building up as we were driving back on the east side of Des Moines and north of the interstate up there. And when it hit the speedway, it was literally on top of the speedway, and it was one of those nice, real definitive wall cloud looking things. And I've put some pictures up that people have seen on my Facebook page. And it's spooky looking, and it rained a whole bunch in a short period of time. And in turn 3 on the infield parking is a depression, or a hole, as you would, that all the vehicles had water up past the bottom of the doors, and so of course it got into the floor pans and everything else. And Spencer Boyd posted some video of getting in there with a 16-ounce cup and scooping the water out when they got outside. And so they might not park in that spot today.
Today's Gander Outdoor Truck Series race rescheduled from yesterday, set to take the green flag at 11 a.m. this morning. Iowa Speedway posted pictures already. The track is dry. No rain is in the forecast. It's a little bit cloudy right now, but the Truck Series should take off as previously planned at 3 p.m. today. And then the M&M's 200 presented by Casey's General Store. Tickets will be honored. So they're going to honor. You can get into both races with either of the tickets. If
Correct.
you only had the M&M's 200 presented by Casey's General Store Xfinity Series tickets, go in a little bit early and get yourself a 2-for-1 deal today for Father's Day.
Does it say on there whether they moved the qualifying before the truck race for the Xfinity race or after the truck race? I'm going to guess they're going to do it after.
It does not say.
Because if that race starts at 11, it should be over roughly by 1:30, and then they can go ahead and do qualifying in the other races and start until, I think, 4:30 or 5:30.
4:30 today.
Okay. So,
the
yeah, they'd have
City
time to qualify in there, but they even canceled the Truck Series qualifying, and they went, I don't know if they went off practice speeds or owner's points, because they did get a full practice in and maybe even part of the second one. And I know Xfinity got part of one practice in, but that's all they got on the track.
I just found it. The Xfinity Series, CircuitCity.com, 250, presented by Tamron, qualifying will immediately follow the Gander Truck Series outdoor
That's
conclusion.
what I figured they do.
Start time for the Xfinity Series races, 4:30 today. Once again, the Truck Series set to kick off at 11 a.m. this morning. Those are both Central times, so you can get over to Iowa Speedway with Dad today, do a 2-for-1 deal, and have a great time over at Iowa Speedway. A little bit farther down the road, wanted to talk a little bit about Knoxville Raceway. They have had just about the worst luck in 2019. Most of their races this year, their weekly races, have been canceled due to all the rain that we've had. And it just seems to be when it misses us, it hits them, and when it hits us, it hits them. So they've been hit quite a bit, but they were able to get the doubleheader for the World of Outlaw Sprint Car Series race this weekend.
After a rain delay.
On Friday night, Brian Brown absolutely licked the field, and last night Brad Sweet picks up the win for the NOS Energy World of Outlaw Sprint Car Series race.
He's getting dialed in for August.
That was a $10,000 win for him. So a good race there. Congratulations to those guys, Brad Sweet and Brian Brown, for picking up those wins, and congratulations to Knoxville Raceway for getting that in. Like we talked about in turn number earlier when we were previewing the show, we wanted to talk a little bit about Michigan. Joey Logano, this was one of those races that Joey Logano just had the best car. I believe he started on the pole. Won stage one, led 163 of the 203 total laps completed, led 7 different times. There's quite a few different lap leaders. Let's see, Kevin Harvick led for 15 laps, Keselowski led for 6, Hamlin led for 5, Austin Dillon led for 7, but everyone else a lap, as
they had some
they were probably doing some green flag stops. Yeah. Clint Boyer, things aren't going very well for old CB right now.
No, he got caught in the middle of a 3 wide going through 1 and 2, and the car he was trying to pass happened to be his buddy Eric Jones. But Eric didn't do anything wrong, and Clint actually got into him this time because he got a little loose when Austin Dillon decided to make it 3 wide along the bottom, and Clint ended up taking the brunt of it. Eric Jones made a real nice save coming out of 2, and Clint looked like he was going to make the save of the race, but at the last minute it got away from him, and he got into the wall backwards pretty hard and finished his day way early.
Only completed 130 laps, finished 35th.
But he manned up down during the interview and said, just one of them things, and he said he was a lot happier last year when he was leaving the racetrack after the win than he was this year. But
like I mentioned, Logano won stage 1. Austin Dillon won stage number 2. The way the top 10 finished in the final results, Joey Logano picks up the win. Kurt Busch comes home with a second-place finish. Martin Truex Jr. 3rd. Daniel Suarez 4th. And Kyle Busch with a top 5 finish. Keselowski, Harvick, Newman, Blaney, and Alex Bowman, your top 10. Like I mentioned, Clint Boyer finished 35th. Austin Dillon, who won stage number 2, ended up finishing 26th. 1 lap down. And that was kind of the way it all went. Not a lot to really talk about. I thought I only got to listen to a portion of it on the radio. The MRN guys, as they usually do, made it sound incredibly interesting and fun, which is why I always prefer listening to it on the radio versus watching it on TV. But, the aero package worked a little bit better at Michigan. It worked the best so far we've seen at Kansas. We really enjoyed that race. But I think that this was one of the better Michigan races we've had in a long time.
Well, like I said, the first stage was pretty boring. Logano got out front and just had him covered, for that part of the race. Then the second stage had quite a bit of racing, and the thing that you sit and you look at the finish, the cars that finished in second place, third place, fifth place, they never led a lap.
Yeah.
Martin Truex never led. Kyle Busch never led. And I think fifth place, where Kyle Busch ended up, was the highest he had gotten all day. I don't think he was ever up past that. He started like 19th or 20th or something. He was in the middle of the field. But just slowly worked on it all day and got the car better. But he, was not the dominant force that he usually is for some reason.
End of stage 2, he finished 6th. But you're right, didn't finish in the top 10 in stage number 1. Started 15th.
Okay,
so
15.
kind of an odd day. And these Monday rain days, this was a little bit different than what we had a couple of weeks ago when we were down in Kansas and they had the rain delay before that weekend. And a lot of the drivers just wanted to kind of mind their P's and Q's and get done with the race because they had a shortened race coming up with a Saturday night race at Kansas. So the weekend was already truncated enough. And then with having to be at the racetrack for an extra day for the rain delayed race, they kind of minded their P's and Q's. I didn't expect that for Michigan because they have today off and they had Father's Day and they're not going to be back to action for another couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, Michigan,
another week.
Yeah, Michigan, they still, they interviewed a bunch of the drivers before the race. What are you looking for with this green racetrack after everything's been washed off? And they were all saying, well, we'll probably, we're going to have the competition caution at lap 25. So we're going to go out and run for 25 laps and try and figure out where we're at, which is what they always do when they have a competition caution.
You really can't. I mean, you would love to go out there and push it and battle for taking over the race lead, but you only have everything to lose. You have very little to gain. And so once you kind of feel out your car, you know what you've got, then you need to kind of start protecting your tires to figure out how that wear is going. And then after that pit stop, you can get a report back from your crew chief. He can tell you how you're driving, where you need to adjust things. Yeah, there's a lot of science to that. Some days you just miss going into turn 1 and turning hard and lifting a little bit. But this is the sport that we're in.
Well, and Kevin Harvick said it best. There was one of his interviews over the weekend, and he goes, I'm doing my job. I've got the pedal on the floor all the way around the racetrack.
Michigan's been like that, though, and especially since the repave, there hasn't been a lot of lifting, even before this aero package.
Well, before they were having to lift into one because they were well over 200 miles an hour going into one, before they changed this aero package. So they definitely had to lift and use a little brake getting into one, but they didn't use much anything coming through 3 and 4.
Right. I know that Harvick seems to be a little frustrated. He had there was a video clip going around of Bob Pockers trying to ask him questions. Was there issues with his crew, with his pit crew late in that race? Because he seemed to be very, very interested in not answering questions about their performance.
I remember he had one pit stop that wasn't real good, but he got in trouble early. He made a unscheduled pit stop. I'm going to say it was about 8 to 10 laps before the end of stage 1. He was running up in the top 4 or 5, but he slowly started dropping back, and he came in with what he said was a loose wheel, went down the lap, and then Kevin Harvick's story, obviously he got his lap back, but was never able to get back up in the top. Well, he did come back up because he actually finished second in that second stage after getting his lap back. Yeah. But that's because he was off a pit sequence with everybody, and that's how him and Austin Dillon ended up in the front of that second stage as they got out of pit sequence with everybody. But he was never quite the car that he was early in the race after that loose wheel part.
Joey Logano picks up his second win of the season and is your current points leader over Kyle Busch. Excuse me, I'm not getting choked up. I'm too much announcing for me over on Friday and Saturday. Brad Keselowski stands third in the points. Kevin Harvick fourth. Chase Elliott with the top 5. So the point standings, as we have completed 15 races, I was just thinking about as I'm looking at that number, we are just a few races away from halfway through the season already. The season-long Pick'ems contest has seen a lot of different changes. My good buddy Brandon down at Eagle Raceway that does the wristbands bragged for quite a bit of the season that he was the points leader and absolutely whooping the field. And, well, now somebody's taking him out to the woodshed. He's fallen down to third. But like I talked to him at Eagle one night, said, winning the regular season really doesn't matter. Finishing in the top 16 matters, and picking up as many winning drivers, that's what matters. So even if you finish 15th, but you have 4 or 5 race wins, the most important thing after the wins is the number of quality drivers you have left for those final 10 races.
Well, I mean, we've seen that the last couple of years. We've seen guys burn through their roster.
Mm-hmm.
They've used all 3 of their Harvicks. They've used all 3 of their Kyle Bushes. They've used all 3 of their Martin Truexes, all 3 of their Keselowskis. They get into those final 10 races, and they're picking middle-of-the-pack guys, and you're not going to win that way.
Right. And I always love doing it.
But you got to be careful, because as I did a couple years ago, finishing 17th at the front, and I had like 2 Harvicks left and 2 Kyle Bushes left.
Yep.
And, I went the other way. I had good luck picking my back markers through the first half of the year, but then at the end I ended up dropping a few spots and didn't make the playoffs, and it was like, oh well.
Yep. And I know that like I was just going to say, you kind of do the playoffs for the fantasy league, for the pickups contest presented by Rick Havenridge Wealth Partners. You want to run this a lot like the guys are going to run Sonoma coming up next weekend, where you want to run it backwards.
Correct.
I always like to look at those final 10 races and say, okay, you've got Homestead. Who's good at Homestead? Most of your mile and a half guys. I could put a Harvick, I could put a Truex in there, I could put a Kyle Busch in there. Who's good at Phoenix? Harvick. Who's good at Texas? Who's good at Martinsville? And then kind of start filling them in, and then before you get into the playoffs, how many picks you have left of the good top 10, top 15 drivers going into those last 5-6 races before the playoffs start, which is where we're at right about now. We are 9 races away from the playoffs starting, with the final race at Indianapolis all the way in September, but being 9 races away, my math's correct on that, right? 15 minus 26. 11 races away. 11 races away. I did that
So your
wrong.
math was incorrect.
So you got to start figuring that as you're getting closer to the season or closer to the playoffs. Who are you going to take at each one of these playoff races? The elimination races are really important, and those are kind of wild cards too, because while some of the drivers may not be the best at that elimination race, they could be on the bubble, and they're going to have to pick up the pace and push a little harder.
Well, and like you were talking about, you want to save maybe Kevin Harvick for Phoenix, but he might crash in 2 races or blow an engine in a race, and boom, now all of a sudden he's really got to go for the win to try and move on. So you might have to adjust your strategy a little bit and move that pickup. So that's where those 10 races can be interesting, but you got to get there first. So if you need to burn, like where I'm at right now, I can't hold back on anything. I'm a ways back. I'm in the 40s.
46th, by the way.
Yeah. And, well,
guess where I'm at?
45th. I picked Eric Almirola last week. He finishes, I think, 4th.
Yeah.
4th in the first stage and 2nd or 3rd in the second stage. So I'm going, I got a good race. Then he has a little trouble on a pit stop, and next thing you know, he's, in 20th place, and he moves up to 18th in the last stage,
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm 27th, by the way. Just, for what it's worth.
Yeah, but that'll change in a hurry.
It will change in a hurry.
I was in the top 10 for a while.
The last 3 weeks, I've had really good picks, but we all know how quickly that could change.
Well, I was doing real good early, and then I ran through a stretch where getting 10 points was a fantastic day.
And I'm beating my girlfriend Sarah, so at least
Finally?
I've got that. Yeah, she was beating both of us for a while there, and giving me plenty of guff at home too. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back in turn number 2. Doug Smith's going to join us, talk about his 2018 season at Buena Vista Raceway. And let me tell you, get an extra sip of coffee, because this was one of the funner interviews that we did. And unfortunately, I had to cut out a lot of the fun that we had, a lot of the back and forth, because it was just too timely. It was because we talked to him back in April.
Yeah, it's a couple months back.
Yeah, so we're just now getting around to the interview, but a great interview. Doug's a really fun guy, and we can't wait to talk for you to hear that interview. So that's coming up in turn number 2. Stan Cisar is going to join us in turn 3, and then we will announce who our team is that we'll be partnering with for the Crewman for a Day contest and the July race at Iowa Speedway. We'll be back on the front stretch.
Hey, look at that. You're sitting on your couch playing Halo, Madden, or NASCAR while your friends are at Joe's Karting. Each lap is an adrenaline-filled, heart-pumping, white-knuckle experience that you can only get at the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Eco-friendly Honda engines rip you around the professionally designed road course at breakneck speeds. Can you reach the 14-second lap bracket? There's only one way to find out. Put the controller down and get to Joe's Karting, 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs next to Quaker Steak and Lube. First Detail Supply at 102nd and J offers you the same professional-grade products that are used in detail shops across the United States. With the high-quality detail products and the guidance you'll receive from First Detail Supply, your car, truck, motorcycle, or boat will shine with a lasting finish. Find out more about First Detail Supply by stopping in at 102nd and J Street or check out firstdetailsupply.com. Don't forget to mention Front Stretch and receive 10% off your purchase.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Just about ready to do another Red Oak Fabrication interview. Need your chassis powder coated. A bare frame is just $275 at the intersection of Highway 34 and Highway 48 in Red Oak, Iowa. Give them a call today or just swing by their website, redoakfabrication.com. You can also email Jordan F at redoakfabrication.com for a free estimate. Remember, bare frame, $275. If you need any sandblasting or reworking, it's going to be a little bit extra. So give Jordan an email today and get an estimate for how much it's going to cost. But any parts and pieces you need powder coated throughout the year, you can always send it over to them. Also, they do a lot of really great metalworking and reworking stuff. So, like, they did a bench for my parents that sits in our house, and it sits in our front lawn, and it's got the family emblem on it in the year that the farm was established. So, really cool stuff. Joining us on the phone now, a Buena Vista Raceway track champion and somebody that has found victory lane plenty of times. Well, maybe not plenty of times in his opinion, but in my opinion, he has found victory lane quite a few times. We're talking to Doug Smith, driver in the number 12 Sport Modified. How you doing, sir?
Good. How about you guys?
Doing really well. Never quite satisfied with the amount of wins, huh?
No, I need to keep winning.
There's always a couple of those ones that slip away from you, and even ones that you never even had a shot you'd still wish you'd had back.
Oh, I've had plenty of them.
I was just telling Dirk off the air, I got to watch you race a couple of times when I was calling races at Crawford County Speedway, and as an announcer, I always enjoyed watching you race because you've got about I would say a 75-25 aggression to patience ratio.
That's what my crew says half the time. Half the time that gets me in trouble more than it does me good.
Yeah, I know there was a couple of hurt feelings at the end of the races, but that's the way dirt racing goes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's easier to turn with 8 tires than it is with 4.
I don't know. I just get in over my head half the time and just need to calm down. I got a fast car. I got to think it's a longer race than 2 laps.
Well, I think that the sport would be in a bad spot if everyone calmed down and waited another lap or 2. We need the guys like you that'll stick your nose in there, maybe a lap too early.
Yeah, but I don't want to piss my crew off. They got to do a lot of work when I'm done with that race.
Yeah. Now there's that. That's always the consequence to having an exciting driver out there on the track.
I don't think I'd worry about my crew so much as the other drivers.
Well, yeah.
Talk a little bit about your year at Buena Vista Raceway. I'm unable to pull up any stats, so I do apologize. I don't know this off the top of my head, but I assume you being you're probably able to pick up a couple of wins.
Yeah, I think I got 10 wins there this year, 9 or 10, but points probably would have been pretty close. Cody Thompson missed one night because he went over to that big show over east, and then they got rained out. But otherwise, I had some stout competition there this year.
Oh, the early one over at Farley, is that where Cody'd gone?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, he's up and coming, man. He's fast.
He's a good kid and kind of one of those exciting drivers, too. It seems like whenever he hits it, man, everyone's running for second place.
Oh, yeah. I had a few nights like that at Alta where he just checked out. Couldn't catch him. Couldn't reel him in. Of course, when I'm chasing the leader, I never get a caution.
Right.
Yeah, why would you do that?
Yeah, when I'm leading by a straightaway, we get like 3.
You need to carry a pizza box or something in the car with you to throw out to get that caution.
Yep.
What do you mean pizza box?
Beer can, whatever, You're not supposed to drink when you're driving. But
I'd
you
come
can
out
eat
of
pizza.
I'd come out of the grain stains to make sure a pizza didn't get run over. That's a trick you don't play on a fat guy. But you've raced throughout the area. That area specifically, you've raced a lot. Talk about some of the tracks you've been at throughout your career and maybe some of your favorites.
Oh, Webster City was probably one of my favorites besides Buena Vista Raceway because, I mean, God, it's multiple grooves of pass lanes there. You can pass, and they went USRA last year, so I didn't hit that much. But otherwise, it's been Spencer, Marshalltown, awesome facility there, track. Denison, went to Tiny Lund this year, got a win, so that was nice. Harlan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Shelby County Speedway.
Yep. Jackson, went up there for Jackson Nationals, got third. That was a beautiful track, too.
How'd you do at the Boone Super Nationals?
I think I got third.
Third?
Yep, third. I screwed up on the I led first 15 laps, and of course, we get a caution when I'm leading. On the restart, I got a little back to that 75-25 aggression thing. Blew in the one like it was the last lap, jumped the cushion, and Jake McBurney got by me, and Dosa Cole got me.
You ever get over to PJ or?
I didn't last year, but I'm going to try that again this year. I'm going to jump around more or less this year, not run for track points except for my local track is all. But otherwise, I'm going to try to hit these big money shows.
What got you into racing?
Dave. Dave got us all into it pretty much. He started when we were in school, and we all just learned from him working on the car at Mom and Dad's, and we all got the itch to do it from there.
Yeah. I can just see this. I think Dave got blamed for a lot of stuff coming through growing up through the years.
He did. Man, he cost me a lot of money.
Well, and he's pretty certain. I think we put this notion in his head, but I think we sold him on it. He's pretty certain he set his car up perfect one night and then went to bed, and then you went out and switched his numbers and took his car.
Yeah, I wish.
You're not fessing up to that, huh?
No. Nope.
So you've been racing for quite a few years. Track championships, obviously you got one at Alta. Where else have you won some?
I've won at Crawford County in the past. I've won at Webster City.
You didn't win those in the future? They were in the past?
They're in the past. Like last year, I didn't race Denison much. That's pretty much the track championship.
Did you race Denison back when it was the bigger track?
Yes, I loved it.
Yeah. Do you like it? Is it the same? Do you like it for different reasons? What's your feelings on the new track?
You know, they say they shortened it, but you seem like you're going an awful lot faster now.
Yeah.
You don't have to let off in the corners. Back when it was bigger, I mean, you had a little finesse, in the corners. Right now, you can just hold to the floor the whole race.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're not running the same gear, are you?
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
So obviously that's totally different because I haven't been up to Denison since they reconfigured it. Dan was never there when they had the big half mile. So, I only know Denison is a monster.
6 back then. Right now I run a 500 there, so it's a 1 gear change. But I don't know, it just seemed a lot more racier when it was that big.
Yeah, all I know is I can just remember the 100-lap Busch All-Star Tour races and stuff like that up there that were just a blast.
Yep, I raced hobby stocks there.
What's been your favorite win over the years?
I would have to say 2016 Super Nationals.
Yeah, that's a big win.
Yeah.
Actually, I won the race champions that year too.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one do you like better?
Probably the big show, the dance.
Yeah.
Paris Clash is probably up there too.
Yeah.
I mean, I won at Knoxville and Webster City. I think I was the first one to do that.
That's something to hang on the mantle. Well, set on the mantle. You don't hang things.
Then getting my 100th IMCA Sport Mod win a couple years ago was nice.
What's the plans for the future? You kind of mentioned a little bit you're going to jump around a little bit more, but you're going to stick more to your home track. Is that Buena Vista you're going to stick to for weekly racing? Weekly
racing, I'll stick to Buena Vista, and then I'm going to try to hit these bigger paying shows. Running for IMCA points, it's just $120 check at the end of the year for all the work you put in. Just don't suit me good. So
yeah, there's no NASCAR tracks up there because NASCAR pays a heck of a lot better than that when you win a state championship or something.
Webster's points pay pretty good. That's USRA. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm still going to hit like Denison and all that, but just when I'm not racing big money shows.
It's kind of nice to be able to pick and choose where you want to race because even though you may race every weekend, there's less. It's less stressful. It's more freeing.
Yes, I agree.
So who's some of the sponsors you got on the side of the car? Who's helping you out?
Well, first off, I got to link Justin O'Brien at Rage for the house car. I mean, without him, I wouldn't be competing the way I am right now. And got to thank my fiance. I'm getting married here in about 8 days, so she supports every bit of it.
Sorry, did you say that you've been married 8 days?
No, he's getting married.
Getting married in 8 days.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm getting married only for 8 days. I got problems.
No, the problems haven't started yet, pal.
The new hasn't worn off yet.
Matt Bach puts in a lot of time and work. Zach Webker, of course, all my brothers at the shop. I mean, we all pitch in when we have issues. Dustin, mainly. He's the brains of the operation on my car. Randy Havlake up at KMJ, our brother-in-law. He's helped. Mom and Dad, of course. Weir's Machine, Outpace, Dirt Defender, Pad at Fast Shafts is awesome. Tom Smith Trucking, TNC Services, Lonnie Hodges Flooring. I think that's about it.
So with getting married, are you going to jump into getting more pit crew people right away?
No. Andy Eckrich at Precision Performance.
Okay, sure.
Who'd you say your chassis was?
Rage.
Okay. You getting attacked?
What's that?
Sounded like you were getting strafed.
Sounded like a Jake
no,
break
semi
going
drove by.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounded like a Jake break.
I don't know why I went with you're getting strafed rather than a Jake break.
He watches too many Army movies.
I can't go in my shop. I ain't got reception in there.
Oh, okay. All right, sticking in the number 12, or are you going to switch numbers and try to sell more jerseys?
Nope, I'm going to stick to the 12.
right.
Hopefully get out of this class here shortly. I'd like to move up.
You want them to go up into the modifieds?
Oh, yeah.
Well, don't have any kids. You're not going to be able to afford it then.
Just need some sponsors.
And remember
Like
when you do
else.
have kids, get your kids a race car, and then they won't have any money for drugs.
Yeah, well, my kid, he's 14, and he likes going to watch racing, but he's all about sports, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
good.
So this is lap 2 on the wedding thing, huh?
No, that was a high school fling, I guess.
One of those Budweiser nights.
Yeah. Bush Light.
Hey, at least you were good enough to stick around and help raise him.
Oh, yeah, he's a good kid.
Yeah. Well, like Dirk will always ask, is he a good mud scraper?
Oh, yeah, he loves it. He changes tires. He grinds tires.
How's she at
I just
scraping?
hope he don't get the itch to race, because I'll have to quit.
Yeah, then you have to retire. All right, buddy. I appreciate your time. Best of luck in 2019. Hopefully we see you at a track around this area, or we come over and see you at...
We all have that coworker that runs their mouth off at how great they are. They shot a 5 under par, 95-mile-an-hour fastball, bench press 375, brah. Wouldn't you love to shut them up by schooling them at Joe's Karting? Council Bluffs' premier indoor karting track, professionally designed so each corner is your opportunity to embarrass your coworker. Call Buddy for your next company outing at 712-256-5278. Joe's Karting, white knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue next to AMC 17.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole of the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Located on Mid-America Drive in Council Bluffs.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Apologies to the Doug Smith fans and to Doug Smith. A little bit of a
technical
glitch. Seem to be having those a lot lately. I got to get my head back in the game.
Hey, by the way,
we'll get that full Doug Smith interview posted on the internet tomorrow morning once we get into the office and we can get that done.
Yeah, the extended version of the show. But hey, any of you fathers that got a little time to relax today, get on out to the Sac Museum out there just south of the Platte River, that first exit off to the right-hand side, and check out the auto show they got going on today. It's supposed to be some nice stuff, and they are having a ton of cars. And with your admission, you also get to tour and see all the vintage jets and planes and everything they've got on display there. And I think they've actually got some rockets and NASA stuff in that building, too.
Yeah, it's a really, really cool building. I haven't been out there for a couple of years. But I do love going out there and looking at that stuff because they have I think they had a Black Hawk stealth bomber that was hanging from the ceiling just as you walk in. So as you walk into that building, there's the
Is it a stealth bomber or the old Blackbird spy plane?
It might be the spy plane. I'm not very up
SR-20.
on my makes and models of those things, but a really cool event. We talked to Allie last weekend during the show. Going on, started off yesterday, going on again today. Starts at 9 a.m. and goes until 5 p.m.
And
a lot of really cool pictures.
Today has the Valentino's Pizza truck in the parking lot.
Delicious Valentino's Pizza, a Nebraska tradition for over 60 years.
Former employer of this guy.
Of the you guy? I was going to say, I never worked there.
Yeah, this wasn't. This is one of the pizza places you haven't worked for. Mm-hmm. All I know is I used to get paid in pizza.
Oh, I know that was the best part about working at a pizza joint was working or getting free pizza. It's Stan Cisar's calling in. Dirk got a whole surprise because we got a phone call.
Well, I was hoping it was David Starr.
No, it's
sorry, Stan.
Well, there's nothing to say sorry for Stan other than his repair bill for last night. But Stan Cisar joining us on the show now, the voice of the Speedway, the voice of the Nebraska 360s and the Sprint Series of Nebraska, Race Saver 305 Touring Series has made its return in 2019. Good morning, sir.
Hey, how you doing? Sorry to disappoint you, Dirk.
There's no disappointment.
Yeah.
Except at the racetrack last night.
Of the morning.
Right.
Except at the racetrack last night, I heard you got a little disappointed. Dan was explaining to me about your lack of luck yesterday.
Well, I'll tell you what, that was actually a worse header than at the Nationals a couple of years ago. But I think we might just catch a break. The car wasn't too badly damaged. It's a lot of bolt-on stuff, and I think a little bit of work will whip it back into shape just as good as it was before.
Just got to let her wrap a few more vehicles this week.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story, I tell you. But
can I tell that one about Adam Gillian?
No, that's okay. Well, it don't matter. I don't know.
It was just funny, yeah. So, anyways, we'll move on past that because I gave you enough grief about that last night. We don't need to carry it on into the morning.
Hey, I've been around this game for a lot of years, and you're going to have those nights. And last night just happened to be one of them. And we've been riding a pretty good streak going on so far, and the car's good, and Cody's on kind of a bad luck roll, and I talked to his grandmother last night in the pits after the races. She says, I knew this was, she says, things happen in threes. And, and he crashed those other two cars. And she said, this is the third one. So he's all done with the crashing now. And I says, well, I wish you would have called and told me that. I says, because then we wouldn't have came tonight. I says, he could have raced his car next. And, but anyhow,
yeah,
we can kid around it. Cody's in good shape. He didn't get hurt. And the car can be fixed, and it's just a little setback,
He would have still had to get that third flip out of the way, so.
Yeah, but it might not have been in my car.
There you go.
Let's since we're talking about the sprint cars, the reason why I wanted to have you on this morning, we haven't had you. I don't think we've had him on in this race season yet.
Not for a race recap, yeah. I don't think.
Well, it's been a busy early part of the season, for us, business wise and racing wise, and it kind of caught me leaning just a little bit as far as having stats together and everything because I don't have computer access. But the 360 Sprint Series has some great races thus far, and a couple of really good races at Iowa Speedway with good car counts. They struggled a little bit out at Junction last week as far as car counts, but the racing was excellent out there, and Ryan Roberts picked up a win in the last event. But in the Sprint Series of Nebraska, we've had 3 different winners. Mother Nature hasn't been kind to us. A lot of rainouts so far. I mean, we were supposed to be 6-7 races in by now, and I think we've got 3 in after last Friday. Had a good event down at US 36 Speedway at Cameron, Missouri, and it was actually kind of a surprise winner. Mike Hausman out of Des Moines, Iowa, picked up the win down there, and he's been a semi-regular down at Cameron, so he knows the track. And he and Mike Moore started up toward the front. Mike unfortunately got caught up in somebody else's mess and got taken out while leading, but then handed the lead to Hausman, and all of our guys, the local guys, tried to run him down, but he was strong, and he picked up the win down there over Tyler Truckee and Adam, and Toby Chapman had a good shot in him. None of them could get the job done. Joey Danley all had a top 5 finish, but so we move on. I believe the next SSN Tour race up at Park Jefferson Speedway, it's going to be on July 1st. So,
hey, how was? I've seen some terrible car counts lately, and I really don't know what's going on with that. But some of these tracks are really struggling. How was your car count down there at Cameron?
Cameron, we had 15 in the Sprint Series of Nebraska, but it was also had the ASCS Warrior Region 360s were on the card, and they were very low on car counts. They had 8 cars show up, and they made a program up out of it, ran some dashes and qualifiers as well as a heat race and feature, and you know, the racing was good. It could be a lot of things. There's a lot of stuff going on last weekend. The previous event down at Cameron was well populated. They had over 30 cars, and they had a lot of hitters. The ASCS National Tour was off that weekend. They had guys like Seth Bergman and Matt Covington. Terry McCarl came down, you know, from Knoxville, and it was a tough show just to make the feature in that deal. And but I really don't know. Our deal, I would have liked to seen, and I think we've had more cars down there whenever they've had a better paying race, you know, for the Race Saver IMCA sprints down at Cameron. The roads, man, it was terrible trying to get there, you know, because of closed highways, because of the flooding down south. And
I think you said it took you an extra hour to get down there.
An extra hour to get back. The road down wasn't quite as bad. You know, we came down on the Iowa side, took 275, and we could actually catch back up with I-29 at Rockport. So between Glenwood and Rockport, I-29 we didn't have access to. But on the way back, 29 north, heading back up north, you know, it was closed before you even got out of St. Joe, and we had to route up through Iowa to get back, and it took an extra hour. Yeah. And like we were kidding about it, it'd been just a close drive to Jackson, Minnesota.
Yeah, there were probably.
And normally that Cameron trip, you know, it's 2 hours and 20 minutes tops, you know. So a lot of our guys probably maybe passed on the deal, you know. Friday night show, you see some of these guys, a lot of them got kids involved in go-kart racing and stuff. You know, it's one of the deals. We still had a decent car count. And
traveling Father's Day weekend, probably combination probably held a few people back.
Big race, a lot of sprint car racing going on in the area too. You know, there was other 360 races going on that night at different facilities here and there. I believe they were down a little bit up at Rapid Speedway for MSTS 360 sprints. But the upside of that is when they can schedule correctly, or schedule to where everyone can work together, when they co-sanction some of these races, you take the best of 2, maybe 3 either tracks or series worth of cars and put them all together, and you can get 30 plus sprint car counts. They've had over 40 up at Jackson and down at Knoxville for the Midwest Power Series, which right now is probably the hottest touring deal going on right now. They've been well populated. They pay some big money. They pay good money to start, good money on top of the purse. And there's been 2 or 3 races where they've gotten over 40 360s, and there are 40 really good 360s that if you make the show, you feel like it's quite an accomplishment.
Looking at the point standings for the Nebraska 360s presented by Malvern Bank, the Carpenter Nebraska 360s, top 3 drivers all have a win on the year, being Jack Dover, Jason Martin, and Ryan Roberts. Cody Ledger sitting back in 4th, and Tyler Drueke in 5th. That's a heck of a top 5.
Yeah, and you know, it's kind of a perennial top 5. You know, those guys have been hanging around the top the last few years. They're definitely the cream of the crop, but a lot of times, like I said, you get guys like McCarl coming over, and Brian Brown dropped in down at I-80 for the Parker Memorial, and the guys from Minnesota and up north will come down. They've got some good runners, Thomas Kennedy, and a guy that's been really good this year, Matt Jewell, and he surprised everybody at I-80 Speedway, you know, opening races this year. But in general, it's up. You know, our deal has been good with the Sprint Series of Nebraska also, and you know, I'm not you know, getting too concerned, but it is pretty tough, and you know, you get, you know, just like even my deal, you know, you get a setback that is going to cost you some money to do repairs and get back to, you know, we don't race an every week schedule, so it's a little less concerning. You know, we race on occasion, you know.
Yeah.
But the competition is good. it's always worth the price of admission to watch sprint cars. They put on a great show. It's even if the car count is down, usually the quality is there and the competition is really good. So, a lot of races in the area. Here you were talking about Jason Martin, and I'm going to stray a little bit from Nebraska 360s and SSN. He traveled down to Dodge City, Kansas this week. There was a big Race Saver IMCA 305 race down there that was sanctioned by the URSS series, and Tommy Estes puts on a really big race. There's a couple thousand to win, I think 500 to start. It's a 3-day event, and Jake Bubak, who has some Nebraska ties, swept the weekend. Jake won the Belleville 305 Nationals last year. They won all 3 nights of that deal down there this year. He's driving for Ben Offel out of Texas. They're originally from Colorado, and he is engaged to Ashley Meyer, who's the daughter of Mike Meyer that raced at Eagle Raceway. He was a perennial track champion in the modified division for year after year after year. So he's got ties to the Sardisons and the Meyer family here in Lincoln. So he's kind of a secondary Nebraskan, I guess we call it. And he's been awful tough down south in that 305 division. And he'll be one of the favorites he swept the weekend at Dodge City. He'll be one of the favorites again to defend his championship down at Belleville in August for the 305 Belleville 305 Nationals.
The Sprint Series of Nebraska made its triumphant return in 2019 after taking a year off, but it hasn't been able to make much of a return because I'm looking through the race results, and I think you've gotten one of the scheduled 8 races in.
No, we've gotten 3, and we had 2 races at Eagle. We had the Nebraska Cup. And then we also were on the show with the ASCS National Tour when Bob Sargent brought that event into Eagle on the Thursday night. And then we raced at Iowa Speedway. We got our qualifying heats in as part of the Charlie Clark Memorial. We did get our qualifying heats in, and those features will be made up. They'll be added to the Fall Brawl in September at I-80 Speedway. So we've got 2.5 races in. Cameron was our 3rd, so technically 3.5 races in so far, but Mother Nature hasn't been kind to that series this year.
Yeah, and I apologize, they haven't had any points updated on the website, but Tyler Drucke has a win, and I believe does Shaylee Bate also have a win as a part of the series?
Yeah, she did pick up the win at Eagle, and she dropped in, and a lot of these guys, anymore. A lot of these guys race both divisions. They'll race the Race Saver division, and they'll race a 360. And the competition is just as good in either one of them, and some good young drivers coming up that are get starting into that deal. I mean, the future of sprint car racing is strong. It's just on any given night it could come up and bite you just a little bit. But big weekend, coming up this weekend. Cody will run Jackson on Friday night. They got a race at Off Road Speedway, I think, is the next race on the Nebraska 360 schedule. That's coming up on Saturday night in Norfolk, Nebraska. And Park Jefferson's got one of their makeup races. I think one of their races coming up, plus one of their races that was on our schedule for the Nebraska 360s will be made up, I believe, in July. And so that's always good news when a track can reschedule.
Mm-hmm. Like you mentioned, Off-Road Speedway, the Nebraska 360s will be on hand this coming Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
With the MSTS 360s as a part of a cooperative series, and then they'll be at Shelby County Speedway on June 29th for their return to Shelby County Speedway. It's been a few years since they've been at Shelby County Speedway in Harlan, Iowa.
Yeah, that ought to be interesting. It ought to be interesting seeing the sprints up at Harlan. I think they're going to fly around that place, and as you mentioned, when you co-sanction with the MSTS has a strong core group of cars and guys that will travel, and same thing with the Nebraska 360 guys. A lot of the local guys just don't travel long distances to races, and whenever they get into a situation where both series can't support with a lot of cars, at least when you put the two of them together, you have a pretty good field of cars to be able to put on an event. To run 2-3 heats, a semi and a feature.
For the Sprint Series in Nebraska, the next time they're scheduled to be in action, I think you mentioned it also, Park Jefferson Speedway on Monday, July 1st, and then they're in Cameron, Missouri at US 36 Raceway on Friday, July 5th.
Yep. So that's coming up. We got a couple weeks. Got some work to do. Try to get things ready to go for our car. But I think those races will be well populated, especially the one up at Park Jefferson, because if our guys that are following the series for points, if those guys all travel up there, there's a strong contingent of race haver cars that race at Jackson, Minnesota, and also race weekly at Park Jefferson. So I'm expecting 25 to 30 cars possibly up there for that deal.
Well, Father's Day's today. Do you and Buddy and your daughter have anything planned?
Well, my wife's been on town at a quilt show. My daughter now lives in Platte City, Missouri, and we'll probably correspond by email or phone. And I don't know. She's supposed to get home sometime this morning, so I've been dog sitting and grass watering all week long.
Mother Nature helped you out last night, didn't she, or the night before?
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, unfortunately, didn't help the track out any out of Eagle last night. Things were pretty soft, and that's why it rutted up. It was a tough deal because the week before the track was so good. Yeah. There wasn't any holes, and then last night, here come the ruts and the holes appear, and you hear all about this spring down in turn 1 at Eagle, yada, yada, yada. Those ruts can happen any place depending on the condition of the dirt, and they get rain dumped on them, all night long the night before. You wake up on Saturday morning, you go down there and the places a mud pit, It's just like Nationals a couple of years. Roger did a great job, worked all night, all day on Saturday morning trying to get the thing in, and we ended up getting it in. But speaking of sprint car races, a couple other, they had a little race at that place over near you guys down the road last night. The World of Outlaws was over at Knoxville Raceway.
Yeah, we talked about those results in 1 and 2, or in turn 1. But go ahead if you got.
Well, I missed that, but it was interesting that last night Lance DeWeese did start that feature from out of Pennsylvania, one of the posse guys, and there's been quite a bit on the internet about him. The Pennsylvania guys don't travel from Pennsylvania. He started on the pole and he hung out there for the first 15 laps, and he faded a little bit toward the end, but don't count DeWeese out. That whole team is comprised of a bunch of Hall of Famers, and they're a bunch of old guys, the octogenarian set, whatever you want to call them, but they got a pretty tough team. The interesting thing I was going to mention is last night, for the first time, Donnie Schatz qualified out of the B main at a World of Outlaws event over at Knoxville. He did win the B main, but he qualified out of the B. And for the first time in quite a while, he's not the points leader with the World of Outlaws. Brad Sweet, I believe, took over the points lead last night by about 40 points over Donnie Schatz. So Sweet, who's coming off the Nationals victory last year, he's a player. Logan Schuhart's been really good in 2019, and the Shark team, those guys, maybe things are getting a little bit more equal, but when Nationals time rolls around, it's hard to bid against Schatz.
Yeah, it always is.
Well, last night, if your guy there from Pennsylvania was out in front for 15 laps, they were racing so late, and you said he's an older guy. Maybe he was just getting sleepy.
Yeah, that's you never can tell, I'll tell you. But and those guys are an hour ahead of us anyway, so there might have been a little time lapse. But all kidding aside, that's going to be that's the big one coming up in August over at Knoxville for the 410 guys, and a lot of great sprint car racing going on. Of course, I-80's got the Silver Dollar Nationals coming up in July, and great opportunity for race fans. Our crowd's been great on Saturday nights, down at Eagle this year, and the races have been awesome. And a great opportunity for the local fans to get out and support their local tracks.
Thanks, Stan. Always do appreciate it. Have a great Father's Day, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you guys next week.
Thanks, Stan.
Bye.
Bye.
Stan Cisar, the voice of the Speedway and the voice of the Nebraska 360s and the Sprint Series of Nebraska. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back in turn number 4. We'll talk about who we have partnered with for the Crewman for a Day contest at Iowa Speedway, presented by Rick Hay from Ridge of Wealth Partners. We'll be back on the front stretch.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
First Detail Supply at 102nd and J offers you the same professional-grade products that are used in detail shops across the United States. With the high-quality detail products and the guidance you'll receive from First Detail Supply, your car, truck, motorcycle, or boat will shine with a lasting finish. Find out more about First Detail Supply by stopping in at 102nd and J Street or check out firstdetailsupply.com. Don't forget to mention Front Stretch and receive 10% off your purchase.
Dan and Dirk are live for one last corner. Give them a call now at 402-573-0590.
Turn number 4 brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Obviously, no NASCAR action no Cup Series action on today, but it's going to be a double header at Iowa Speedway. Once again, the Truck Series set to roll out at 11 a.m. The Xfinity Series set to roll out at 4:30. I imagine they'll have both of the races on the big screens of Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs. Plus, all day today, it's their Father's Day special, ribs and wings combo for $16.99. Thunderbird Steak Dinner for $12.99, or the Biker Chicken Salad for $8.99. Soft drink or pint of domestic beer included with that. Excludes some mixed drinks and liquors, but a great deal over at Quaker Steak and Lube. Get down to the official watering hole of the front stretch, and they have a brand new app that I've been using the heck out of since I'm there 2-3 times a week anyways. You can get revved up points.
3 times a week? How about a day?
Mm-hmm. The cornhole tournament still hasn't happened, by the way.
And by the way, that biker chicken salad, that thing's good.
It is really good. I've had that too. It's unfortunately, when you think about a salad being healthy, the sauce that they put on there that is so good, it's not so healthy for you.
Yeah.
But you don't go to Quaker Steak and Lube to lose weight. You go to Quaker Steak and Lube for a good beer, some great wings, some great food.
So you don't get to take Hector to Quaker Steak.
Nope. Get over to Quaker Steak and Lube today for all of the racing action coming to you just down the road in Iowa Speedway. So if you can't make it over to Des Moines, which, by the way, if you leave now, you could still get there in time for the green flag.
Easy 2.5 hour trip. I was about 2:15 yesterday when I went, buzzing upper 70s. No construction for the first time in my life in Iowa, either direction.
Wow.
No construction. I was going to say no cones, but that's a lie because they put so darn many cones out by the racetrack, directing traffic in and out of that place. I mean, they direct you in, they direct you out. The state patrol's out all over there, so if you get over there, you watch your P's and Q's. We had lunch with a couple officers yesterday that were working at the racetrack, and we said, oh, man, we saw like a couple cars just on the east side of Des Moines going the other way. He goes, oh, yeah, there was a big chase over there this morning.
They do a great job of
maybe
the
we're on the news.
The egress and the ingress, getting people in and out of that racetrack. So once again, the Truck Series race rescheduled for 11 a.m. today. The Xfinity Series race as scheduled for the 4:30 p.m. today. All right, I wanted to talk real quick. You were over at, we have about 4 minutes left in the show, and we got a lot we got to get to still. You went over to Iowa Speedway yesterday and locked up the team that we're going to be working with for the Crewman for a Day contest.
Yeah, we're going to be working with MBM Motorsports and little connections in there. Brad Kozlowski's brother Brian works for the outfit. Him and his fiance. His fiance does a lot of the PR work for the group, and
we're going to have a local guy that's going to be our driver.
Joey Gase is going to be our driver. He's got some Cup experience, but as MBM has 4 Xfinity teams, so you'll have plenty of stuff to look, see, hang around with, watch cars go through tech. As she told me yesterday, there may be a need for actual pit help.
Yep.
So holding signs, maybe you guys might get split up and hold a sign for 2 different teams, or maybe you get asked to catch tires. So we'll probably know a little bit that the closer it gets. So one thing you'll want to make sure, you're allowed to wear shorts in there, and it's going to be hot in July, but you're going to want to take a pair of jeans in your backpack and a dark T-shirt, a black T-shirt specifically, because that's their team is a black colored outfits on everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll have to be dressed like a team participant to be allowed to do that. But, you could wear over whatever shirt you want and whatnot, but you'll have the full experience down on pit road again. And they'll get you a little bit of time, guaranteed a little bit of time, maybe a lot of time up on a pit box, so you can kind of view something. Now, if you're helping during the pit stops, that probably won't happen, but you'll definitely be wearing a team radio.
It's an awesome experience over there, and one thing we love about the Iowa Speedway race and being able to work with these smaller teams is that we're able to get you a little bit more. The Cup Series race down at Kansas has its own glitz and glamour, but this is a little bit more behind the scenes. You're gonna not just see what goes on, you're gonna actually live what goes on. That's provided you're physically willing and able to, but we'll get to that more as the contest rolls on. One race down, 4 races left to go. So if you haven't gotten into it yet, sorry, but I think your time's a little bit elapsed. You're not able to get into it, but we do have another Kansas Speedway Crewman for a Day contest coming up shortly.
And this was a race. Normally, we get these races on these contests, and the first race or two, people sweep it and got 60 points. But that didn't happen this week, so that's going to play a little bit in down the road.
All right, today, like we talked about, the first annual Sac Museum Car Show going on at the Sac Museum. It kicks off in about 3 minutes is when it reopens, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. today. Get Dad down to the Sac Museum Car Show. Want to get you an update on a friend of the show, McKenna Haasse's American Ninja Warrior episode is going to now be airing on Monday, June 24th from 6 to 8. There's a party going on her Facebook page. You can get down to Grimes, Iowa, and watch it as a part of a viewing party. And then, or you can watch it on NBC. Once again, that broadcasts 7 o'clock Central Time on NBC, Monday, June 24th. And Iowa Speedway has I-80 Speedway has the Donate for Life Nebraska race coming up this Friday. $1,000 for the modifieds and sport mods to win, $800 for the stock cars, $600 for the brag and right late models, $150 for the sport compacts, and the hobbies are paying $350. It's a bonus purse this week is the reason why I'm mentioning it. So if you're a dirt track driver and you wanted to get out and see what I-80 Speedway was all about, this would be a great week to do it because the modify all the classes are paying an extra purse thanks to the Donate Life Nebraska Foundation, a great organization that helps to organize organ donations throughout the area and get people on the list and get them all through the complicated funnel and the red tape that can be. All right, thanks everybody for joining us. We'll get the show posted Monday morning at about 11 a.m. once we get back into the office and we can get it up to the internet company, so we do appreciate everybody joining us. Swing in next weekend as we're going to have Chris Abelson and David Smith, brother of Doug Smith, joining us on the show, as well as getting you set for Sonoma. That's going to do it for us today. For Dirk Houston, I'm Dan Taylor. This has been The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting.
Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs isn't just another wing joint. It's a great place for beers, bikes, classic cars, and amazing specials. Get to the Lube each Monday for Kids Night, where Kids Lube Cruiser meals are just 99 cents with an adult entree. Each Tuesday, you can pound down all the wings you can handle for just $14.95 during all-you-can-eat wings. Wednesday is Bike Night, and Thursday is Classic Car Cruising. Follow them on Facebook at Quaker Steak and Lube Council Bluffs.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you white knuckle racing by the river bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
You're listening to AM 590 ESPN Omaha, KXSP Omaha, KEZO HD2 Omaha. Your home for Husker sports.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.